Hello guys, and welcome to a new tutorial. It will be a short tutorial because in the last one I forgot to tell you about the unbinding. We saw how the GObjectBind property works, but once that you set it, those properties stays connected forever. This means if you need to make some changes, then only for one object, then you need to call for example gbinding unbind, because of the property which you want to set it only of that property which you want to set it only to one object and not to both objects, or maybe if you want to drop it at all. For this there is a function called gbinding unbind, but before we move to this function we have to go a little bit back to the GObjectBind property, because there is something very important which I forgot to tell you. It says return the gbinding instance representing the binding between the object instance, and the binding is released whenever the gbinding reference count reaches to 0. That's what the reason why it says GObject unreference, to set it to 0 again. Anyway, the gbinding instance, if we go inside it, we see basically those functions right here, which we have them. Is the place where you see the GObjectBind property and also the gbinding unbind. Okay, now this means if I'm going to click now on the gbinding unbind, and you will see that the function says explicitly release the binding between the source and the target property expressed by binding. So this function will release the reference that is being held on the binding instance. If you want to hold on the gbinding instance after calling the gbinding, you will need to hold the reference to it. Whatever, we are not going to do that, but one thing is important, and that is if we go back to the gbind property, you notice that returns the gbinding pointer, and now if you check the gbinding unbind, you see it takes a variable which is of gbinding pointer type. This means we need to set this function call to a variable so that we know how and when we can release it. So basically we need the gbinding pointer. I'm going to add it variable right here, gbinding and I'm going to say also binding at this point. And once that we declare it, basically we can point it to this function. We are going to assign the GObjectBind property result to the binding, and now that we have it, we can call the gbinding unbind on it by passing this pointer. I'm going to call it now right here, and it's not a random call, it is right here because I need to call it before the object set and not after. I want to show you the difference. Now I release the binding and then I call it sensitive. Now if you watch a little bit the program flow, we have something like this. We have the GObject set of the open button set to true because we didn't change its sensitive property, and also we have the second one which is set to false. Now we're creating some binding, which means it needs to invert those properties, but we drop this binding before we set the object open button sensitive to false. Because we drop this basically after we set the sensitive to false of the open button, we are just setting the property of this object, and the close button gets no changes. But if I move the gbinding unbind after this call right here, it will be first set the property of the sensitive to false and the sensitive property of the close button to true, and then it will be the gbinding unbind basically will be released, the connection between those two as well. Watch. You see, now the open button is set to false and the close, which was false, is set to true. And now of course if we call again this function, no matter what you pass here, false, which is the same, true, there is no reflects nothing on the close button. You see, it says to true, but this one get no changes, and this because we dropped the connection between those two properties. Okay, I hope you're understanding. That was it. Thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.